Metroid Prime 4 was supposed to be the moment, guys. Not just for Nintendo fans, but for anyone who's been waiting nearly 2 decades to see the Prime series evolve. It was easily one of the most anticipated games of 2025, and honestly, the expectations weren't small. They were gigantic, guys. We were promised a comeback, a reinvention of sorts, maybe even a showcase of what the Switch 2 could really do. And after everything, a rebooted development, the handoff to Retro Studios, the years of silence, we finally have the game in our hands. So the real question is, did Metroid Prime 4 actually justify the wait, or did it play things a little too safe? Let's talk about it. This game had a strong opening. At first, right, the opening hours honestly had me thinking, okay, Retro Studios still gets it. The atmosphere, the environmental storytelling, the first big area, it feels like classic Metroid Prime in all the right ways. The game is gorgeous on Switch 2. I got the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, guys. There's options for 4K 60. And yeah, that initial sense of discovery in this first little jungle part, they absolutely nailed it. I honestly was feeling the vibe. But once you settle in, you start noticing the seams. The opening hours of the gameplay genuinely had me fooled, guys, in the best possible way. Like for a minute there, I was like, okay, Metroid Prime 4 is back, baby. You load in and immediately the atmosphere hits you. Not nostalgia, not a copy, but that very specific Prime energy, that big Prime energy, guys, that BPE. You had the quiet isolation, that subtle ambient hum in the background, the environmental clues that tell you the story without beating you over the head with exposition like, hey, listen, like Navi in Ocarina of Time. And the first major area, like I said, is a jungle area. You could tell Retro poured love into it because it gave a solid first impression. The scale, the layered pathways, the way the lighting interacted with Samus's suit, it all feels handcrafted, not procedurally slapped together. It didn't feel like it was just slop, guys. The game is genuinely gorgeous. Like I said, I was like, wow, look at this. On my live stream, I was taking a minute to look at some of the views in the distance because there's cliffs where you can see like mountains and like a drop off and clouds, and it just looks beautiful. It looks like Avatar stuff, right? And the smoothness this game presented did so much for the immersion. There was visor reflections where if you blast too close to an enemy or to a wall, you could see Samus's eyes reflect. Every particle effect looked good. Every scan pulse, it was all working together to pull you in. And the discovery loop, they nailed it hands down right off the bat. It was a classic Prime moment where you see something you can't reach yet. You're like, okay, there's some psychic platforms I have to come back once I get psychic boots or something like that. And it sticks in your brain. It's that satisfying little buzz when some new upgrade sends you back to an entire room that you passed earlier in the game, hours earlier. Like, oh, that's where I gotta go. Retro absolutely remembered how to build those micro hooks, how to polish that Metroidvania vibe in these games, guys. And for a while, like I said, you're thinking, all right, this is it. They still got the formula. But then, and this is a very big but, and I cannot lie, once you settle in, once that early game shine wears off and you don't smell the new car smell or the rose tinted glasses start to get a little bit darker, you start to see the issues, like I said. There's little design shortcuts, repeated ideas, areas that look incredible but don't play as interesting as they look, enemies that feel more like set dressing than actual threats. The pacing starts wobbling a little bit. The sense of escalating mystery begins flattening out instead of tightening. It's like the game comes out swinging with all this confidence at first, right? And then suddenly it starts to hesitate. There's not enough to break it, but it's enough to where you can't ignore it anymore. And that's where I said Nintendo seems to have played it a little safe in regards to this. And even on my live stream, I was like, hey, this game feels a little bit Frankenstein together. It feels like it doesn't know what it wants to do because it's trying to force that open world formula once you get to the desert. We're going to talk about all that here in a minute. Let's talk about the new characters, because this is what people are complaining about the much, guys. These new characters, you get these companions, Every time you clear a new area, you rescue a companion, they go to your home base. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more. But these new characters, they're not exactly a win, guys. This is the first major red flag in the game. It happens when you rescue Miles, who's the NPC that was trending for a while. Everybody says they look like the Redditor, and they have these glasses. They look like a nerd. It's basically an NPC who sets up the base and becomes your radio reminder system. He's your Navi, your narrator in this game. He's not as intrusive as some games have companions for, where they're modern, hand-holdy type of companions, but he's also not that great, to be honest. And like I said, every major area introduces another character that you need to help or escort or defend. Here's the issue, guys. None of these characters add meaningful depth to the story. They're not really interesting. I don't even remember their names except Miles, right? And the voice acting ranges either from, all right, that's okay, it's not too bad, to why are you talking like that? Some of them just have this weird, like I said, Redditor speak. I know a lot of people were comparing it to that. It really starts to pull Prime away from what made it iconic, guys, which is isolation, tension, discovering. It pushes it into a way more guided, more linear structure, even though they try to hide behind that open world aspect. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want talking in my Metroid. I'm in the middle of that. If it adds to the story, if it's memorable, if it's characters I care about, absolutely. But these characters really don't do anything in the game. They're just in the missions. You rescue them, they go to your home base, and they're just there. Miles upgrades your suits and stuff, and when you bring them the chips, which we're getting to that, you'll talk to them, they give you a little bit of exposition. They do kind of join you for a couple of these missions towards the end of the game, but they really don't add to the story. They're just kind of there. Again, it seems like this game doesn't know what it wants to be. One minute it feels like Metroid Prime, the next minute it feels like Halo, the next minute it feels like Breath of the Wild. It's a mess, all right? But let's talk about Miles. The moment you rescue Miles, again, like I said, he basically becomes your little base setup guy, your part-time radio narrator. Something shifts in this game. He's not the worst character ever. I know a lot of people are pretty heated about him. He's not doing the modern AAA talk every 5 seconds so you don't feel lonely thing, but he's also not great. His dialogue never fully lands. Half the time it feels like he's reading bullet points off of a clipboard. He brings that MCU Marvel Studios energy to the game, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's cringe, but it's somewhere along that line, right? And the thing is, like I said, it doesn't stop with him. Like I said, every major area starts adding another person you have to help, escort, defend, or check in with for whatever reason. Suddenly you're not exploring a world. You're basically babysitting a roster of side characters who all blend together because none of them bring real depth to the game. None of them add tension. None of them make the mystery more interesting. So why the fuck are they there? I have no idea why Nintendo felt this route would be the way to go. Their personalities range from serviceable to, why are you talking to me like that? Like I said earlier, like, okay. And then why are you talking like that? Or why are you talking to me like that? And they gush over Samus, and the voice acting varies. I guess that's the main issue a lot of people have. And again, this is where the game starts drifting away from what makes Metroid Prime Metroid Prime. That feeling of pure isolation, that quiet pressure of exploring alone in dangerous environments, that creeping tension that builds just because it's you, your suit, and the great unknown, all that becomes diluted. It's not ruined, but it definitely is softened. Again, like I said, it's guided, it's more linear. And I'm not trying to harp onto this, but that's the biggest change that I felt most of all. It feels like Retro didn't fully trust players to sit in the silence anymore. They kind of thought we're stupid. That's what it feels like. They insult your intelligence when it comes to this. Instead, again, like I said, they kept throwing NPCs at you like a, I don't know, like just to make sure you stay engaged with the game. Like, do they think our attention spans are so low? But ironically, it has the opposite effect. It took me out of the experience, right? Now, for everything that the first area of the game was, where it had this great presentation, it was great, it was awesome, it was gorgeous. Let's talk about the second area, which is where you get the Viola bike. And it's where I spent most of the majority of my first stream of this video game. And it's where the game took a turn for the worse, guys. After this lush, atmospheric opening, the second major area that you go to feels the complete opposite. It feels shockingly flat, guys. You got repetitive enemies, drab environments. It's all gray. And pacing completely slows down instead of ramping up. It almost feels like you're playing a completely different fucking game. And if you watch my stream, I said, damn, this is a slog. This is a slog to get to. It's a whole area dedicated just to getting the bike. It's 3 towers, and you go from next-gen Metrovania masterpiece to it really feels like an early development prototype to put over the bike mechanics. It feels like an entirely different game. After that lush, moody, beautiful, crafted open area, you drop into this new area expecting the momentum to keep building, and they drop it. You're waiting for the next big hook, the next big twist, the next environmental shift that tells you, wow, this is fucking Metroid Prime 4. It's evolved since the first one. And again, like I said, it just like a fart in the fucking wind. The enemies look uninspired. There's no Metroid-style pattern recognition, but it's a copy and paste filler type of thing. This area really feels like padding, like filler to make the game longer. Again, like I said, the environment loses all atmospheric personality that the first part of the game had. It's complete opposite. There's no rich detail like the first one. There's no layered design. It's just gray. The quarters, they feel like they were blocked out for testing, and someone forgot to go back and finish the textures or the art, right? And the pacing, like I said, it doesn't escalate the tension. It just feels like you're going through the motions to get this fucking bike. I have no idea. Again, like I said, if you watched my stream, you felt this. You saw me grinding through that biome like I was walking through the wet cement, basically. That's how much of a slog it was. The chat was literally trying to hype me up just to push through another room. Every object or objective, I should say, felt like busy work. Every encounter felt like deja vu. I felt like I was going in circles. This area of the game gave off this weird early prototype vibe, like I said already. Like it belonged in a dev build, not the final game. It was such a jarring shift, honestly, that it killed the momentum the opening hours of this game built. I was like, wow, I'm a few hours in and I'm not having fun. I even tweeted about it. 1 minute, I was thinking, oh man, this is a next-gen Metroidvania masterpiece. And the next, I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. If you're enjoying it, I'm happy for you, but I'm not. Like, that's how I literally felt. And that boss fight in that section was way too fucking brutal. Way too fucking brutal of a boss section. And it's not that the area is unplayable, guys. It just felt shockingly undercooked. It still felt raw compared to what came before it. Like, that was a weird design choice for them to go from the first awesome open area to this gray nonsense. And when you're streaming it live like I did, that slowdown just becomes 10 times more noticeable. And like I said, when it comes to the design choices, that's the problem here. The big design problem is pacing in this game. A lot of people expected Prime 4 to modernize the formula, but instead it adds slowdown mechanics disguised as new features. Example here. Let's say you're in the middle of a stage. You go to the ice belt. You get an elemental upgrade like an ice shot or a fire shot in one section, electricity shot. You find this upgrade, but you don't get to use it immediately. Like in Super Metroid or other games like that, you find the ice shot or the fire shot or whatever fucking shot, you get to immediately use it. And this one you don't. You have to bring that chip that you found at the end of the entire stage all the way back to the main boss, where Miles, that annoying NPC, installs it into your arm cannon. But here's the twist. There's no fast travel. And typically in Metroid games, there is no fast travel. Okay, that's to be expected. But when you're promoting it as an open world game, you gotta fucking have fast travel. I'm sorry if that makes me spoiled or a brat or whatever. On top of that, it's an open world game, but the bike traversal has no music unless you scan 100% of everything in this game. Most people aren't going to scan everything in this game. If you play this game as a dirty casual, you're going to scan here, and there. I ended this game with 75% scan, so I don't get access to music on the bike unless I buy a $30 fucking amiibo. This game is already 70 fucking bucks. For basic gameplay features, I gotta buy a $30 amiibo. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're lying. You guys are fake news. You guys are lying if you're saying that the music's locked behind a paywall. You got 100% the game. Most people that 100% this game or beat this game aren't going to go back and play another game or another round of it unless they really love Metroid. You got to think about the majority of people. I'm going to be like, oh, I got to get 100% scans of everything, including random objects, random desk, documents, enemies, bosses, I don't know, fucking rocks and shit, just random stuff to scan throughout the whole entire fucking game. I got to get 100% of those scanned in order to get a basic gameplay feature. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, son. And then the desert that you ride through is just this empty space. And I know deserts are empty. Again, another weird design choice. Why did they go with a desert? It adds minutes, not gameplay. It literally is just empty nonsense to pad out this game to make it feel longer. It's not classic Metroidvania backtracking here, guys. It's forced backtracking. Let's go all the way and play this level, get the upgrade. We have to walk all the way back up that grade, and then when we get out of that fucking level, we have to go all the way back to where Miles is. It feels like padding to extend a game that's not even very long to begin with. Most people are beating this game in 2 days. It took me 2 days to beat this fucking game just sitting here and grinding at it. A little over 10 hours. It's not that long of a game, and they want you to spend $70 for it. And here's the part that really annoys me, right? Metroid Prime invented half of the modern Metroidvania structure that we see in games today. Like, every game that's a Metroidvania structured game is because of Metroid Prime. And Metroid in general. They finally had a chance to evolve the genre with Metroid Prime 4. Nintendo had a chance to evolve the fucking genre, to refine it, to make it something new, to bring these ideas into an open worldish formula for the fucking series. And you know what? Spoiler alert, they didn't. They tried to be open, but they didn't modernize anything around it. It was a complete fail. So instead of feeling expansive, it just feels tedious, guys. Like they added space, but they didn't add anything in that fucking space. And this is commonplace with a lot of Nintendo games that are open world. Open world cannot be empty. There has to be a living, breathing fucking world. There has to be things to do. And if you choose a desert where there's literally nothing in a fucking desert, that's a poor design choice. And it's not just with Metroid. The most recent Pokemon games that have come out that are open world have fucked this up too. People didn't like the way Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's world felt as well. And yeah, I get it, guys. Back to the backtracking aspect. I get that backtracking is a part of Metroid. I like backtracking when it's meaningful, but this is not meaningful. This is busy work. This is literal busy work. And if you watched my stream where I played through the game, you saw how aggressively it slowed the energy down, guys. The chat could feel it. I felt it. Again, it just didn't hit right, guys. Now let's talk about these psychic abilities, which is what they really marketed with the gameplay of this game. They sound cool on paper, but they're not, guys. The marketing tried to hype these as a new core pillar of Prime gameplay. In reality, they're really used sparingly, mostly to move objects or break shields. It really felt like Zelda with Breath of the Wild, how you could like use your psychic Jedi abilities and stuff. They're not terrible, but they're not transformative either. They feel like a checkbox feature added for the sake of saying, we added something new, guys. We added something new. The worst part of it, though, is most of the time I straight up forgot I even had them. There were whole stretches of the game where the psychic abilities didn't even matter at all. I wasn't even thinking about them. I wasn't looking for opportunities to use them, and they weren't enhancing the flow of exploration. They were just an extra button at that point, guys. It wasn't until the final hours where the game suddenly remembered, oh yeah, you have these, and they started throwing ability-based puzzles, and they actually registered as part of the toolkit, but by that point it felt like a core... it felt more like a gimmick instead of a core mechanic, I was going to say. It's like they remembered too late to properly integrate. It was mostly when you tried to find those shrines to get like your charge shots and things like that. It's like Retro Studios wanted to innovate. You can feel they had intention here, but they never committed fully to it. You should just dive deep in the fucking pool, right? And so instead of becoming the next Scan Visor or Morph Ball moment, the psychic powers ended up being this half-baked system that could have been cool, but it never reaches its potential. Like, you couldn't have like a force shove and shove enemies or anything like that. And when a big new feature doesn't change how you play, then that's when you know it wasn't designed as a pillar. Okay, it was designed as padding. So let's talk about the good things that I liked about this game, because I've already spent about 20 minutes bitching about it and stuff like that. The bosses and visuals of the game do deliver. I know there's a lot of people out there divided about the visuals, saying it's a PS2 or PS3 game. That's a little bit stretched out. Sure, in the desert areas, it doesn't look appealing because there's nothing to fucking look at, and the detail of the environment kind of flounders a little bit. But when you're in actual areas besides the second area of the game, it starts to look pretty good. All right. There's some stuff where I'm like, all right, this looks good. When Prime 4 shines, it shines fucking hard, guys. I'll admit that. The boss fights are creative, they're satisfying, and they're tough. I had to dial down the difficulty the last two areas of the game, but they are actually really fun boss fights. The presentation is easily some of the best work that Retro has ever done. The Switch 2 version, it looks fantastic, like I said. It feels incredibly smooth. They did a great job with it. But the whole game wasn't maintained with that level of polish. If this whole game was maintained with that level of polish, if we had the high detail, the great gameplay loop, if everything just all around was made into a perfect package, we'd be talking about game of the year potential here, guys. But overall, it feels like a game that was designed for 2010. I've heard that comparison. Or a game that you could tell has been Frankenstein because it went through two development cycles. It had Bandai Namco, then it had Retro Studios, and then it feels like they were just trying to mismatch everything without really innovating. So that's where the real disappointment hits, guys. Metroid Prime 4 doesn't feel like a long-awaited evolution of the series for as long as it took. And when I was talking about the Metacritic score being an 81, people ranking it 8s and 7s, sure, that's a good game on paper. For any other regular game out there, like a Deus Ex, which I fucking just have randomly right here, any kind of random AAA third-party game, that's solid. But this isn't a random AAA game. This is Metroid. This is Metroid Prime 4 at that. A game that's been years in the making. A game that we waited 8 years since it was announced, and then it was silent, and then it just comes out to average scores. Average isn't good, okay? Nintendo fans, like I said, quit accepting mediocrity. Quit saying, oh, the game's fine, and this and that. A lot of you guys are just coping because you just play Nintendo shit. I was in that same boat for a long time. I was like, okay, they got it. I'm playing this Nintendo game. Sure, it looks a little undercooked. Sure, it has outdated mechanics and stuff, but it runs. That's cope. Quit with that. Call Nintendo out. They want to play safe. They want to play nostalgia. They want to make games that have titles like Mario and Metroid and Zelda because they know you're going to buy it. Even if you're mad, like myself, I went out and bought this. Nintendo kicked me out of the ambassador program for being too critical of their games. Again, it doesn't feel like this was a long-awaited evolution. This literally feels like this could have been made years ago. Why did we wait so long, guys? This could have came out a decade ago with the same exact gameplay mechanics, the same exact structure, and it would have felt good back then. In 2025, it doesn't feel good. It feels okay. It feels like a average game, okay? These few modern add-ons that they put into this game don't enhance anything. This doesn't feel anything special. This doesn't feel like a next-gen title. And if you think it does, you're lying to yourself, guys. It just feels like an okay title. Matter of fact, it feels like a fucking indie third-party generic title that I would have played on Xbox that goes on sale every couple of weeks, guys. That's how unmemorable it's been, at least for me. If you're enjoying it again, good on you. I'm happy for you. I'm not hating. There's such thing as a difference of opinion, guys. People don't have to like what you like, okay? The power-ups in this game are mostly the same as what we had over a decade ago with the last Metroid Prime games. Just with this psychic branding, like I said. The structure is the same, just with more interruptions. The pacing's the same, just with more filler, more padding, more stupid nonsense that wastes time, that feels tedious, guys. And this is weird coming off of Metroid Dread because I loved Metroid Dread. I thought that was great. I'm more of a fan of classic 2D Metroid. For a lot of new players who discovered the series through Metroid Dread, because that was the best selling Metroid game ever, a lot of new people got into the series from that one. They haven't even played the original Primes. They haven't even played some of the original Metroids. A guy in my stream the other day was like, I've never played the first Metroid. Get your ass to Mars and go play Metroid, all right? Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime 4, in my opinion, are a tale of two different cities. For whatever reason, Metroid Prime 4 feels more outdated than Metroid Dread did. And one is supposed to be more ambitious. One had a longer development cycle. One is 3D. One's open world. And one feels like it's just a 2D game that could have been on the Super Nintendo. How is the one that's less developed and took less time to make feel more modern and more up to speed and more engaging than the one that just came out that had 2 development cycles? Explain that. This feels dated in my opinion. But let's end it on a good note here, guys. Metroid Prime 4 is a good game. It's okay. It's not bad. It has moments that truly remind you why the franchise is legendary, guys. But it should have been more. It should have been more, guys. After 18 years, Prime 4 doesn't push the series forward when it should have. It could have redefined Metroidvania genre completely. They could have set the standard again like they did back in the day. The additions it does make, like escort mechanics, NPC chatter, forced backtracking, bike traversal, the base desert hub, it doesn't meaningfully improve the experience. To quote DSP, it's not meaningful and robust content. It's solid, it's enjoyable, it's polished. Don't get me wrong, it is absolutely polished, but it's not polished enough. It's not the masterpiece that many hoped it would be when this was first announced. You remember the hype when we saw that announcement trailer with the logo pop up? So after all this complaining, after all my bitching, should you actually play Metroid Prime 4, guys? Honestly, you probably should. But why you're playing it matters, guys. If you're a longtime Metroid fan, you're going to find a lot here to appreciate. You're really going to enjoy it. The atmosphere is on point. The combat is solid. We didn't talk enough about that, but combat mechanics are solid in this game. The boss fights are easily some of Retro Studios' best work. And when the game is firing on all cylinders, guys, it absolutely reminds you why this series is iconic. But if you're coming in expecting the next giant leap forward, a big evolution, the modernized Metroid Prime that pushes the genre like Dread did, this isn't that game. This is not this game. Prime is good, but it's not a masterpiece. Sometimes it's great. When it Metroid's right, guys. But it's also clunky. It's padded. It's clearly designed around older ideas that don't always survive the transition to a semi-open world structure. Again, it feels like it was Frankenstein together. And I don't understand how it took so long and it didn't hit on all cylinders like it should have. Maybe I'm being a little picky, but that's my right as a consumer, as a gamer. I have every right to nitpick stuff. I played this game. A lot of people are like, oh, you didn't play the game. I played it. I played the game. I beat it over this weekend. 2 days it took me. I have no desire to 100% the thing just to get music. I'm not buying a $30 fucking amiibo. If you're new to the series, guys, your reference point is Metroid Dread, which is fast, it's snappy, it's modern Metroid. This will definitely feel slow. It might feel dated. It might feel way more tedious than what you're used to. It might be off-putting, actually. But if you love slower, methodical exploration, if you love environmental storytelling, if you love that classic, isolated Prime vibe where you feel alone, aside from the NPCs, there's enough here. It's not fully fleshed out, but there's enough here to play it. Is it enough for $70? That's debatable. If I'm paying $70 for a fucking game, I don't expect to beat it in 2 days. I don't. I almost feel like there wasn't enough here. Even if you look at it, the open world is not even that big. The map is smaller than the Zelda games. It really is not fully fleshed out. It doesn't feel like there's enough here for that price. If the game was for $50, absolutely. The Switch 2 version, again, which is what I'm playing, the visuals and performance shine, especially in that first early part, guys, that first early part. But if you hate backtracking, if you hate busy work, long stretches of empty bike traversal, mechanics that don't evolve over time, this is probably not going to win you over. You're probably going to be turned away from it. So here's my real answer when it comes to should you play it. Play it, absolutely, but temper your expectations. Keep them low. Don't go in expecting triumphant reinventions of the genre. Go in expecting a decent, sometimes good Metroid Prime game that still carries some old baggage that it never quite shakes off. If you're somebody who skipped the Prime series but loved Dread, maybe watch a bit of gameplay first to see if the pacing lines up with what you enjoy, because it's completely different. All right, it's completely different. And it might not be up to your speed, guys. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, this was a long one, hit that like button. Subscribe. We're on the road to 97,000 subscribers. I think we're 600 subscribers away. So I'd appreciate if you guys give me a subscription and hype the video. That's a new option, is to hype. So give it a little bit of a hype. I'll see you on the next one, guys.